Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today I wanted to talk to you all about something a little bit more personal, why I decided to return to EA. Now, if you followed my journey, you know I've had my share of experiences in the game industry, uh, AAA studios, AA studios, indie studios. So coming back to a company like EA wasn't a decision I made lightly. In this video, I'll share what brought me back and why this next chapter actually feels like the right fit, both professionally and personally. So let's get into it. Now, I want to put a nice little warning here. That this is my opinion. My opinion only. It does not reflect my employer. This is my personal thoughts and opinions. So in late 2023, in December, I returned to EA. And so why is it that I'm sharing my story now? It's been over a year and I just feel a lot more comfortable now, kind of sharing my reasons, um, now that I've had more time to reflect on them. In my next video that I'm going to be sharing with y'all is the reasons why I had left my previous studio, the AA studio that I was at, which was absolutely amazing. Culture was absolutely amazing. Um, so then why leave, right? So I will be talking a little bit more about that in another video. So I don't want to get sidetracked here. So let's talk about the first thing that really helped drive my return back to EA. That is stability. The industry at the time was not in a good place, right? Once COVID was over, our industry still is going through tumultuous times right now in 2025, right? There are tons of layoffs, studio closures, canceled projects. Being the main provider for my family, I needed to not be anxious about if I would have a job uh, the next month, week, or tomorrow. That was not a great feeling, to wake up every single day not knowing if I would have a job. Now, that isn't to say that going to EA, you're safe, right? Like, there's been layoffs at EA as well, in the hundreds, right? So it was a more strategic decision. First off, it had to be the right opportunity. I wasn't just going to join any EA game or any EA project. I knew that when I was going to return to EA, if I was going to return to EA, it needed to be a sports title. And if I ever move into a sports title, I knew that this is it. Like, I would be here forever, because for me, it just always made sense. I always envisioned myself being at EA Sports, working on a sports title. I think in my career, being younger, I wasn't ready yet to like to stay in a sports title forever. I wanted to go and explore other creative avenues, other creative titles, experience that, because I knew that if I didn't, I would always regret and think about it. But there was always a big part of me that was like, well, hey, man, like, you love sports. I consider myself an athlete and a gamer, so it just made sense to combine the two. I just needed the right time for me. Okay, so now let's talk more about just the right fit for me. And it had to be the perfect fit, like I said, right? So during the interviewing process, talking to the team members and the people that I was going to be working with closely, the vibe of the team, the culture that was built, it felt exactly what I wanted to be part of. It was a team that I can tell that wanted to be social, and there was this tight knit feeling that I got when speaking to them, and that was something that I was really missing from previous projects. I felt like a lot of my previous roles at other studios, we were good colleagues, but it was just like it was very work related, or I was so burnt out from work I didn't even have energy to invest in building relationships outside of just being colleagues. So this felt good in that aspect. What I really appreciated, and something that was very different in the interview, was not only I was selling myself, why I thought I would be a good fit, the team was trying to sell me as well on why I should join. So it was this beautiful back and forth discussion and conversation that we were having, um, on in all of my interviews, actually, starting from the phone interview all the way to my one-on-one interview. Another thing for me was the hybrid, mandatory 2 days in studio. I was kind of done with the full remote thing by that point. I was really missing the in-person interaction, the connections, and the bond that gets built when you actually are working with people face to face. Very happy to hear that this was not fully remote and that it wasn't this non-mandatory hybrid model that was going on. It's weird to say, but when you've worked, or at least for me, I've worked on some really big titles, and I missed working on titles that are just known around the world, right? It was nice to finally get back to a game that's that I know millions of people play, right? Like FC's the biggest sports video game in the world. I was very happy to hear that the team that I was going to be joining was the most creative game feature and game mode that I would get to work on in FC. So that was the Ultimate Team, clubs, creating and designing Vanity. You know, it's a really good mix of fantasy and grounded. A lot of the other teams, you're working on licensed stuff, so it's like, here's a photo of it, you need to like match it, right? But for this one, it's like, okay, you get to create fantasy stadiums and cool looking Vanity. So it was the most creative team out of all the other teams. So that was perfect for me, because that way I get to work on a game that is very grounded, but blend in some of that fantasy. So that was the perfect fit for me. You know, and I've said this already before, there are tens of thousands of players playing every single day. Massive esports scene. It's massively viewed on Twitch and YouTube. You know, so there's just this great pleasure in knowing I'm contributing to the entertainment of millions of people every single year. There's a predictability to it that I am growing to appreciate now at this phase in my life. You know, it had been many years since my last full production game, which was Plants vs Zombies, Battle for Neighborville. So, my fault. I haven't said that in a while, so did not roll off the tongue as smoothly as I hoped it would. FC is an annual game. There's a general timeline schedule that gets repeated, right, every year. I didn't realize how much I missed having structure, especially when personal life is chaotic. You know, with a young family, there's just a lot going on. It is actually quite welcoming to have some of that predictability. I saw an opportunity for growth. You know, I came back officially as a senior environment artist, but through the interview process, I realized that this was more of like a lead position, a manager position, which was great for me, for my career, because I was not looking for being like something, being in the craft or creating things. This was my opportunity to shift back into more manager director role, and so I wanted to go there and kind of grow in there, in that position a little bit more. And then, you know, what I really loved about the management team was I had brought that up to them that currently, you know, my title is artist, and that's not really what I'm doing. And so, but there's a outside perspective, or yeah, an outside perspective. When they see artists in my title, they're expecting that I'm the one that's actually doing the art, but that's not the case. So, you know, within, I think, the first cycle, by the end of the first cycle, I finally was officially, my title changed to associate environment director. There was this huge opportunity to learn, right? And I think there's perception that like when you're making a sports title, there's not that much to learn, but there are a ton. There are a ton of things to learn. So I couldn't wait to come back and learn from people who have been doing this for many years. And what is so crazy so far, in the 2 cycles that I've been part of, it has been very different experiences. So what that means is every year there's always going to be new wrenches being thrown in, new ideas that people are going to try out to help evolve the game. And I'm just really excited. Now, going through a complete full cycle and 2 production cycles, what the future has in store, because I'm going to take all of the learnings that I've had so far in these 2 years and continue to improve on things that didn't go so well and iterate on the process over and over and over again. So yeah, that is the reasons why I decided to return back to EA, and I hope that kind of gives you a little bit more of an insight. And thank you so much for listening. See you all again next time.